Everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my review for Season 2, Episode 5 of The Bad Batch, Entombed. Apologies for the one person that might actually care that this is a week late. Oddly enough, I saw this on a day that I didn't even go to work because I'm in Michigan winters. We had a crazy snowstorm last week, and I saw it super early. Normally, I watch it after work, and I was like, oh man, it's Wednesday. I can watch The Bad Batch super early in the morning. I did, and I enjoyed it. And then I just forgot to do the review. I was just doing other stuff the rest of the day, and I just completely forgot. And then I just didn't have time until today. So for the one person that cares, like I said, my bad. But I enjoyed the episode. I didn't think it was anything super crazy, but I did enjoy this one more than the last episode. I mentioned in my review for that one, it seemed like it just flew by and nothing happened. It was like the first race happened, then the second race happened, the episode was finished. This episode actually felt like there were a bunch of different little moments that happened that I thought were actually entertaining. So of course we have, it will always be Wanda Sykes' character. Maybe I'll remember the character name by the end of the season, but for now, Wanda Sykes' character joins the rest of the crew. We had Omega and Wrecker in the very beginning. They're picking up some junk. They gather a couple other things that look interesting. They end up coming across this compass that leads them off to this planet that's holding this ancient treasure known as the Heart of the Mountain. And they go on this treasure hunt. They have, the classic things like there's booby traps, and it's like, oh crap, we almost got crushed. Then they realize that the compass has like, a little decoder. It's basically like the old school thing on the back of the cereal box. Is like, oh man, it's like the decoder. And if you put a light through it, you can see which pillars need to be lined up. So they get through. They of course get attacked by the local creatures. Some of the classic pitfalls of going on an adventure, an intergalactic space adventure. So I thought it was really cool the way they handled it. It was still a simple episode. Nothing really happened, especially by the end. I mean, they literally found the treasure, awakened this insane machine, which that was like the one thing I didn't like about the episode, was the fact that what they did made me question so many things. It was like, oh, we found like this tomb, of this very ancient race. And it's like, I think it was, I forgot who it was. It may have been Echo. Echo may have said it, where it was like, oh, like, you mean the Jedi? And she's like, even older. I was like, okay, that's really cool. The modeling of the actual creature, which was definitely just a giant killer giraffe thing. For one, it reminded me of, the Horizon games. And two, it made me think of the Zeffo from Jedi Fallen Order. Like, just the design of it kind of made me think of those creatures. And I would have been like, if it happened, I would have been like, that's actually a really cool way to reference that. It wouldn't be the first time they've referenced Fallen Order, because when they did it in the last season, it was during the episodes when they were on that junk planet where they met Cad Bane. That was a reference to, or that planet was technically made in Jedi Fallen Order. So it was a bit of a reference there. And that would have been super cool if they, were like, yeah, it's the Zeffo. And even if they didn't know who that was, I would have been like, that's a really cool reference. But it just made me wonder, like, well, what in the world's going on with, what was this alien race? Why did they have a giant, like, Terminator giraffe that shoots laser beams and just like scorch Earth's, scorch whatever the planet is? And it was like, no answers, because obviously the point of the episode was just they went on an adventure to find a treasure, and they found it, and then it was bad, and then they had to put it back, and they blew up the whole giraffe. And so it just made me question a million things, where I was like, man, I really just want a backstory on everything they found. But it's like, we went there, crazy laser beams, fought the creature, the robot got destroyed, but it was like, he's backed up on the drives. So it was a fun episode. I thought it was really cool watching them kind of go through this process of figuring out, like, how do we get past kind of each little puzzle that they have, and using the compass and stuff, and then getting to the end, finding the heart of the mountain, and then realizing that pulling it out activates this thing, which once again, that's why it led to a million questions. Because I'm like, if they did that on this planet, there's no way it's the only one. Like, that's all I think. I was like, there's no way that this was like just a once in a lifetime thing. Whatever species or race this was, they made this giant Terminator giraffe that wakes up and destroys the whole planet if you pull the thing out. And I'm like, there's no way that was just one and done. Like, there's just no way. So it was just in my head the whole episode, like, dang, I want this to be like an actual story, because that's really entertaining and very interesting to see what that could possibly lead to. And who knows, they might bring it back. I highly doubt it personally, but I think that'd be really cool if they did. But I like the way it was handled. The actual in fight, I actually thought was super fun. I thought that was actually a really cool way to do it, because everyone's being thrown around, because this thing's going around, just blasting the whole planet. And then they end up having to fight one of the monsters, which basically just looked like a giant bat to me. So they're fighting this thing while everyone's being tossed around. It's like, we got to, get the jewels. So everybody's sliding through all these little cracks and crevices and stuff. I was trying to figure out the design of it as they were like fighting. I'm like, what is the design of this actual room? Because they were like dipping and sliding through all these little weird like cups and spaces and stuff. And I'm like, are they safe? Or like it seemed like there was very little actual solid ground, and then everything else was just pillars and like weird sliding pillars that went all the way down. But everybody was okay. They of course put the heart of the mountain back into the thing. They destroy the giant evil giraffe. They take out the creature by blasting the window, which I thought would have been cool if Wrecker had to deal with it and like he flew out the window with it, or he was tossed out the window, and of course he'd survive. But the way they handled that I thought was actually really fun. So I was like, I like the end battle. I like it was a very simple adventure. Like nothing crazy really happened. They went through the adventure, everybody was fine. I mean, heck, outside of what was happening with Omega and kind of like her journey and kind of looking up to Wanda Sykes' character, the rest of the guys did nothing. Like especially after they got split up, they literally did nothing. They were like, all right, we're gonna go through this tunnel, and it's like, oh, we're breaking up. They just went around. I think they had like one scene where they actually showed them in the tunnel. If I'm not mistaken, they may have done that. They may have literally only shown them go in the tunnel, and then they came out at the end and it's like, what took you guys so long? And that was it. That was their whole journey. They got split up and they just went all the way around all the traps and came out at the end. And I was like, oh, okay, that was interesting. It was very simple, much simpler than what I was expecting for what could have happened with their side of the story. It was literally just they went and then they came back out later. I was like, oh, cool, okay, everybody's together. But all in all, I enjoyed it. It was definitely a simple, fun episode. Like I said, I enjoyed this one for sure more than I did the last episode. But I think because it's a lot because of how the last season was, and I think everyone feels this way, admittedly. First episode, I enjoyed. Second episode so far is definitely the best episode we've had. And I'm hoping, it's like as we go forward, or I guess it was episode 3, technically. Episode 3 was the best one. But going forward, I hope we get like a more important episode. I hope the next episode is just something special. I know that at some point we get like a cool 2-parter, and then like the finale is like another 2-parter. But hopefully even the single episodes just contain stories, do something either more impactful or even just more entertaining. I would like to see another action-based episode. That would actually be pretty cool. I feel like the action that we faced is really simple. Like, them doing the race was fun in the last episode, and this one is like, oh, it wasn't exactly tense because I didn't expect anyone to actually die as they're going on this little treasure hunt. So it wasn't necessarily like, oh, how are they going to get out of this one? For the most part, they fought the one creature and just shot it a bunch, and then at the very end, it was the only time where it's like, oh, how is this going to play out? Like, is Wrecker going to get tossed through the window and then he has to find a way to survive? And it was like, okay, like I said, I enjoyed that ending fight sequence, but I would love it if, we went into the next episode and we just had a firefight again. Kind of like in the first episode where it's like, hey, let them use their skills. Because I feel like, oddly enough, we're in episode 5. We haven't actually seen the crew outside of the first 2 episodes where, it was obviously focused on them. Then it went to Cody and Crosshair, and then the last one was more about Tech doing the race, and this was just a treasure hunt. We haven't seen them. I personally, I feel like it's been a minute since we've actually seen them really fight, and it feels kind of weird because I'm like, yeah, they're shooting their blasters and stuff like that, but they aren't really like in an action sequence, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I feel like I'm not explaining it well because technically the race was an action sequence, but it was like, it wasn't a firefight. It wasn't like an action scene where they're throwing punches and they're like, how are we going to get out of this? And the odds are against them and stuff. Everything's felt really simple since that very first episode, and that's really unfortunate. I know it's only been 3 episodes since then, and only 2 have actually involved the crew itself, which I guess technically this is the first episode that's even had the entire crew, since the first 2 episodes. So I'm hoping in the next one we get like some more action focused set pieces where they're, fighting other clone troopers and kind of just figuring out some of the more chaotic sides of things, and it's more impactful. And like I said, even if it's just another full circle episode where things are basically the same as they were, at the beginning of it, maybe just a bit more action, it'll be a bit more entertaining. I'm not sure, but I'd like to see that. I think it would be more entertaining if we got a bit more action and, just a slightly deeper dive. I don't know. I feel like they could still go much deeper with the characters themselves. I mean, even with the whole first season, there's still a lot that they can do with that. And I mentioned right from the premiere, it's like, I feel like splitting the characters up, which oddly enough keeps happening, but never as good as I wanted to. Every single episode where I was like, since the beginning, I was like, if they split them up and we get real deep focuses on the characters, that would be great. And they've done that in all the episodes. The last episode was only 3 of the team. This episode, the team got split up. And it was like, aside from Omega being like, oh, wow, going on an adventure, it was just like, yeah, she's a kid who wants to go on an adventure. And that seemed to really be it. It wasn't like an advancement in her character. It was just, she likes treasure hunting because it's like a cool journey. And that was it. It wasn't anything that was like super deep. We don't learn anything about Wanda Sykes' character, except for the fact that she had a super cool like vibro blade machete type deal. I thought that was sick. I was like, I didn't think they did that. That was just, you just have the little knife, but it was like she had like a full machete pirate version. And I was like, that's sweet. I would actually like a replica of that because that just looks super cool. But aside from seeing that, there wasn't much. So I was like, I hope we start getting stuff where even if the episode is simple, the moments can be more impactful. And I feel like we haven't gotten that. Obviously, I feel like I'm hating on it because we're only 5 episodes in, but I feel like that's just how this has been compared to, when we would have Clone Wars. Even, with Rebels, I felt was the same thing where it was like, it was more impactful, especially, later season. I think obviously first season, everyone says, it's kind of getting its footing. So was Clone Wars, admittedly, if you watch the first season of that, but it definitely got more impactful. And now we're in season 2 of Bad Batch. And it's like, it started off good. It was the first 2 episodes were good. Episode 3, where it was, just like the clone stuff was fantastic. And I was like, okay, it seemed like it was about to be like a lot of hard hitting stuff. And then it kind of went back to just kind of basic missions. The missions aren't even admittedly that exciting to me, where it's like I don't feel that tense with the stuff that they've gone through. It's only been 2 episodes technically, since we got, a really great episode, but it's just like, okay, well, if you're gonna have the main characters, I kind of want to feel like they have to do something really intense. The most intense stuff we saw, first 2 episodes, and then the 3rd episode was intense, and that wasn't them. So I want to get back to that. More firefights, more stuff where it's like, I have to, obviously we won't really wonder like, are they actually gonna live or die? They're gonna live, but you want to see the action. You want to see something more impactful, more intense. And I feel like we just don't really get that as a whole, honestly, with the Bad Batch, unfortunately. We get like those couple of pocket episodes that are just like, holy crap, that was some of my favorite stuff that I've seen lately in Star Wars. But a lot of it, from the first season, and hopefully not most of this season as well. That's just how it ends up feeling, where it's like, it's fun to watch. I enjoy it, but you just want it to be so much more impactful, especially considering the story that the characters have. I think that's another part of it that always drags the show down when it's not an episode that's really impactful. Because I'm like, every single second of this could be like the most intense stuff we've seen in Star Wars. They are clones, special clones, who are against what is now the Empire at this point. And it's just like, man, simple pirate treasure hunts aren't as cool as them still dealing with the fact that there are a buttload of their brothers out there who, as soon as they see them, they want them dead. And they, of course, have the main villain, whatever his name is. I cannot remember for the life of me, but we haven't even seen him since the first episode. Or I guess technically he was in the 2nd/3rd episode, but it's just not super impactful. Like I said, this was a fun ride, more of a fun ride to me compared to the last one, but it always boils down to just being like, it was fun, but it's nothing I'm going to think about. There's nothing in this episode aside from the fact that I want more answers. If they bring it back around, this will be a great episode. This will be like a little seed that leads to something super cool down the line. I kind of doubt that, but who knows? Maybe they could. But who knows? That could end up being referenced in Jedi Survivor. They might have like a crazy, cross reference, and that would be sick. But I'd like to see it in the show. I feel like they need some stuff in here because they do like these little mini adventures, and then it's just like, okay, cool. But I didn't hate it, but that's just how I've been feeling with the show, because I'm like, I definitely enjoy it. I just feel like episode to episode, there's just not this like huge grip when it comes to this show. And it always feels like there should be, because the stories that they can do here can be so much more than just a pirate adventure or a race or something. Like, everything feels like where they are in the universe, who these specific characters are, every single second could be something wild. I know they obviously will go on missions that are simple and easy, but I just feel like it would be more cool if they didn't, if it was just more intense. So more intensity, more whatever George Lucas used to say. I forgot what it was. Better, faster. Yeah. So just do that, I guess. But we'll see what happens. We'd love to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it. Of course, your least favorite parts about it. What you guys want to see from the season going forward. I know, of course, I think I mentioned this in the premiere review. We're going to get Rex again. I'm hoping we see Ahsoka. And then who knows if we get any other references. I don't really need them, but at the same time, maybe I do, because that's where all the intensity comes from. If they're helping with Rex, they're doing something really serious, and that's what I want. So who knows what's going to happen. Cad Bane again. More Cad Bane is always welcome, always appreciated, always wanted, in all honesty. So I hope he didn't die in Boba Fett, but either way, we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, though, want to know your thoughts on this episode, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.